As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 117 of Zero to Hero presented by J29 Creative Group. Got another awesome guest coming at you guys today. He is your new Chief Swag Officer. His name is Joe Beveridge, and he's the president of Russell Hampton Co. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Joe, how are you this morning?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for joining me. So before we really get into this, what is Russell Hampton Company? What do you guys do, and what do you guys have coming up?
Sure. So the short version, like you said, Chief Swag Officer, we do everything you could ever imagine with a company organization's logo on it, whether that's awards and recognition to trade show items, banners, things that are printed, embroidered from apparel. I mean, literally everything. I truly mean everything. It's crazy. You really got to have everybody out to the shop. It's easier to show than tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to get down there myself for sure. And I know you guys, I mean, if you've ever seen like a Rotary Club flag or hat or anything, probably nationwide, that's probably where it came from, is Russell Hampton Company, along with plenty of other things. I mean, you guys have worked with some incredible brands for sure. Talk a little bit about kind of how we've gotten to the point. I know there's quite a bit of history that comes with Russell Hampton Company. So tell us a little bit about where you guys have come from and where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention Rotary, and that is exactly how the company got its start. Excuse me. My wife's great-grandfather started Russell Hampton Company with his business partner back in 1920. So that puts us at 104 years. And at the time, it started in Chicago, downtown Chicago, which is where Rotary was founded. And he just grew tired of trying to obtain club supplies and branded, items, and thought there should be a convenient one-stop shop. And literally that vision has not changed. That's why when I say we do everything, I mean, we literally do everything. And so, it started specifically with Rotary clubs. And so for over a century, we've, 4 generations of Rotarians serving Rotarians, excuse me. And then in 2000, and we've always served other organizations and on the corporate side, but never intentionally until 2013, we started that other side of the business where we were a lot more intentional with serving the other side of that. And so it's been an interesting ride. And as I mentioned, 4 generations. So Gen 2, 3, and 4 were all son-in-laws. And that is not by design. That would be a really tough design to have.
That would be difficult. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah,
especially in a society that doesn't really do the arranged marriage thing, that would probably
right. I'm not grooming my daughter for who her husband is, right? Yeah, no.
Oh, that's funny. So I guess let's get into kind of the meat of this and let's talk about this generation. So kind of putting aside Russell Hampton Company for just a second, tell us in a couple sentences, who is Joe Beveridge?
Sure. That's great. So obviously everybody evolves as they change. I'd say Joe Beveridge now. Business owner and president of the company, also, a father, very involved with my kids' activities, and probably other than that, just a family member and friend. Pretty basic.
I love it. I mean, it's hard to separate from the business as well. I know you're a man of much more than what you're talking about, right? With the family and everything like that. There's so much that goes into that kind of stuff as well.
Right.
But tell me a little bit about how you kind of translate those two things, right? How you bridge the gap between being the president of a well-established company and then raising kids as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely, a challenge. I think the pace of life for everybody, whether you own a company or not, is so fast. I think it's definitely a challenge for everybody. But yeah, it really is. And so, I've come to, everybody talks about work-life balance, right? And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, up until just starting like this month, I coached both of my son's soccer teams. So I've coached since my oldest is just become a junior in high school. So I've coached him since he was 7. And same thing with my younger son, who's 13. And so I coach their teams, and they're in soccer and volleyball and basketball. I mean, just all of the things, right? And so I thought about it, I'm like, holy shit, like, oops, sorry. We have a decent work-life balance from the standpoint of being present for our family, and doing things. I think honestly, sometimes it becomes hard to find time for just you.
Yeah.
And so that's been my struggle this year. So this year is like, all right, I really wanted to prioritize a little bit of me, like get some sleep, get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I will say that through the beginning of August was kind of a fail, but we're turning that ship. So,
I think, to kind of dive into this a little bit too. I mean, male mental health is something that I think people are really starting to talk about a little bit more, and has kind of been neglected in the past. I was just thinking about that the other day as well. We're not often looked at as the most selfless gender, but I mean, when you kind of look at, I would disagree personally, right? I think we very much focus on everybody else's happiness all the time, and it is you got to take a second to recharge your own battery.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've got to focus on that and really know yourself, right? And know what is going to recharge that battery for you as well. So I appreciate you bringing that up, man. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get some soccer tips from you. My 4-year-old, some coaching tips, I should say. My 4-year-old just started this year, and I kind of got looped into the coaching a little bit and had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. I could do the athlete side, the coaching side. I was, man, how do you do it?
So, hey, listen, this applies to soccer, basketball, whatever. And this is really sounds lame and really simple, but I promise you it makes a difference. My oldest is left-handed. And so let's say basketball, for example, you watch the warm-ups, it's right-handed layups. It's right-handed. You start dribbling with your, and so the one thing I always did was I make the kids start with their off dominant foot or hand, and we will spend 80% of the time, or at least that's the goal, on using the other. And you wouldn't believe that, like, over the years, my kids have mine and my wife's scrawny little genetics. So I mean, we're not kicking out D1 athletes here, but they compete because we worked on the fundamentals and just developing them, and it's been really cool to watch them in their journey. And so anyway, that's like I said, it's a really basic tip, but it's amazing how many times that doesn't happen, especially when, us dads get roped into this. And then, like, from my standpoint, I never had an exit strategy. I was like, oh, wait till we start losing, and we didn't. And so I just kept doing it. And I will admit I did have some help. I had great neighbors that I worked with that were knowledgeable, and then other coaches that would shed light on things. But anyway, that's like seriously the most basic that I would say probably brought the most success.
No, and it makes a ton of sense. I mean, when you think about how you think about your own body, right? I mean, if you can use the off dominant side, you could probably use the dominant side and have quite a bit more body awareness as well. That's a really good tip, Joe. I appreciate that. But let's get back into the company a little bit now. When you guys were founded in 1920 in Chicago, the internet wasn't around, right? Much less social media, right? And all the different things that we see now. So tell us a little bit about, how you guys got started on the social media and kind of what that journey's been like from the point of starting the channel with no followers, no likes, right? We had a ton of history, but nothing that was on the pages, to where you guys are at now and how you leverage that.
Sure. So I will admit that is something that is definitely one of our weaker things that we're working on. And like we visited about briefly, just having a history where when we started, I mean, there wasn't even color printing, everything was black and white. It wasn't toll-free numbers or 800 numbers, or, I mean, shoot, they didn't have computers. So back in 1920, so it was typewriters. And so much has evolved. But right now we are definitely in the phase of getting our hands around all of the various sites that we have. And because of those different sides of the business, we've had sites that were geared specifically for, the non-rotary side and the rotary side. And so honestly, the place where we've just had the most success though is having, getting alignment within our company as far as the vision and so other than that, we were probably a little more scattered than we'd like to admit, but we're always improving.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, right? I mean, you get on the internet now, and your vision is all over the place, right? And it's hard to know who you are, and then it confuses people, right? And then they're gonna go somewhere else, right? Because they're confused about the services that you offer or what you do. So I love that, man. I mean, that's the foundation, right, to start with. And I love the open and honesty about it as well. A lot of people out there do struggle with social media, right? Which is why there's people out there to help. So that's awesome. Now, Joe, every superhero has a defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to not only your career, but your life as well?
Sure. Well, on the career side, I would probably say defining moment. I joined, I was lucky enough to be accepted into the Hellsberg mentoring program back in 2012, which is great because I have an engineering background. So short story, I met my wife and then was getting ready to transition jobs. And my father-in-law approached me about, would I be interested in giving this a try? And obviously I did. And obviously it's worked out. But, going from zero to hero, so to speak, that I read a lot. And so I thought I had a good idea of what I wanted to do, but getting paired up with a mentor that had just nothing supersedes experience, that started having that conversation with me. And I thought, we got to do this. And all of a sudden I was like, I know this. And so that really kicked my education. I probably learned in that first 18 months what it would have taken me a decade on my own. So that really was a great turning point, I would say. And personally, oh man, I don't know. I mean, what do we say? Get married, having kids. I mean, having kids is like the big game changer, right? Like,
right.
Once you have one and then you have another, you're like, oh my God, how did I think that one was hard? And then you kick out a third and you're like, and so that definitely, all of a sudden your time is not your own. So, I tell you, it's so funny too, because, you talk to all parents and regardless of what people show it as on their social feeds, right. Life's hard, man. We run into all of their activities and they have struggles and God, there's just times when you want to break and then they go off somewhere and you're like, oh, I miss them. I wish they were back. So it's kind of the funny, can't have it both ways. Right. But
yeah, the grass is always greener, right? Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And bless you for having three. I mean, we've got two, me and my wife, and going from that man-to-man to the zone defense is not something that we're interested in for sure. I can't imagine.
I always kind of thought it was some fluff talk. And I'm like, okay, no, it's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. But Joe, superheroes have attributes that kind of define who they are, right? As well as villains, right? That define that side. What do you think really define more that hero side? What attributes do you think go into that and make that side important?
Sure. So, and I think it's really special about our company, and I think it's probably really special about a lot of small businesses in general. But I had a guy reach out to me just the other day, specifically on the Rotary store, and went onto our site, and you can literally log in and get the president of the company's email and email him. I'm like, we are super accessible, but we want it to be that way. You don't want to have to call up and then push 4 and then now dial 8. And, you not only do you get a person on the phone, but you get somebody that's actually probably going to help you from start to finish, like through your entire journey. And so like, we really love that. The relationship is, again, I think that's such a big thing. Maybe it's a Midwest thing, maybe it's a small business thing, but we generally get to know our customers. What are your likes? I stole this from Barnett Hellsberg. What have you had that you liked? What have you had that you didn't like? And what out there might you like, right? So we want to know that. We want to get to know you, your brand. Like, how can we cater specifically to you? It's a great experience for the customer, and also it makes a better experience for us as well. If we're sourcing a bunch of things and you don't like half of them, we've wasted time. We're wasting your time. And so I would really say it's that feeling of just that small business and genuinely caring. And in fact, it might sound a little lame, but to us, it's, our whole core purpose. So whether we, which we just acquired another business, which we can talk about that in a minute, but whether we stay in just this field or another field, it doesn't matter. Our core purpose is providing an exceptional customer experience. And so, exceptional, we always say, it doesn't mean fireworks and glitter. It just means like we genuinely care. We do exactly what we say we're going to do, and we deliver, right? And so, and man, people come back like, I needed this by this date. You said you would, and you did, and they're ecstatic, right? And so, that, I would say in a longer version than you probably wanted, that's it.
No, I love it. I love it. And what you just said there at the end, doesn't that make both sides feel so good too? I mean, like that's an uplifter. I mean, we kind of share in that similar, you did exactly what I asked for and it came earlier than expected. And we're like, yeah, like we're excited about that too. Right?
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yep. I love that. I love that. No, I love the principles that you guys are living on too. I don't know if you're familiar with, I think everybody just about is now, but the Savannah Bananas and Banana Ball.
Yeah.
And Jesse Cole's main philosophy is a fan first experience, right? Everything is about the consumer. Everything is made easier for them to come in and have a good time, right? And that makes the entire organization successful. And it looks like they're having a blast doing it as well. So I think that's absolutely the perfect foundation for really any business out there, right? Is make the customer experience exceptional, like you said, man. I think you nailed it. So tell us about the acquisition. What's new coming up for Russell Hampton before we get into the last question here?
Yeah. So in the beginning of this year, so in January 1st, we acquired All Star Awards, and just the cultures meshed so perfectly. They had all the beliefs I was just talking about.
Yeah.
And we do the same things, just our concentrations were kind of opposite, and so it gives a nice balance to what we do. Lots of synergies. In fact, that's where I am right now with all the awards in the background.
Yeah.
I'm over at All Star today, and so it's been a journey. We took January, February to do some intensive learning. Just we do the same thing, use a lot of the same suppliers, but we have a lot of differences. Learning the nuances, and then trying to get fully staffed, and then the busy seasons overlap. So one's, March to June, and the other's April to July. So all of a sudden we were just trying to keep the balls in the air. And so now we're in the, okay, let's really merge this so we can provide a better exceptional experience just by taking advantage of what we can do collectively. So
I love it.
Stay tuned. We're still working on a bunch of stuff.
I love it. I love it. You can come get your swag, and you can show your support to all the great employees that have helped you along the way, right? Or your vendors or whoever that is that needs to be awarded, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. And we do need to work, get you out, because like I said, talk about it's one thing, but to see all the equipment in action, like what happens is people come through and they're like, oh, you can do this, and then they get excited, right? Because it's different than me telling. They have their own experience in their mind. They're seeing their vision and how it could come to life. So it's pretty cool.
I love it. And I do love that display case behind you, man. I was gonna say before we started the show, I was like, wow, it looks like a Chiefs locker room at this point, I guess. Behind you at this point. That's fantastic. Joe, last question for you, man. This is the one that kind of hangs up a few of our guests, because I'm gonna ask you to toot your own horn here a little bit and compare yourself to any superhero that's out there, and tell us a couple of reasons why they're like Joe Beveridge.
Okay. So knowing this was coming was helpful. Thank you. I gave it some consideration. I would probably have to pull like one of like the actual like more human of the superheroes, right?
Yeah.
To have that human feel. So I don't think I'm as cocky or confident as like a superhero Iron Man, but he definitely has that vulnerability and that side to him. Or like even a Batman, and both of those are in business, have industry. So I would say, just looking for commonalities, that would probably be where I'm hanging at. Definitely not having a superpower, so to speak, but but having that greater vision to want to do good, and then also tying in that business element. I don't know. I wish I would have listened to another answer before I gave mine.
No, that's great, man. That's great. Now, and I totally see the parallels as well, right? Especially towards the end of Iron Man, right, where he does kind of understand what all he had done, right, and
Yeah.
then really gives everything of himself at the very end, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Joe, thank you so much for coming on, man. You have been an absolutely awesome guest. Where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you guys? How can they see what you guys are doing, and how can they place an order?
Sure. So as mentioned with the acquisition, we have a lot of different places to go. Back to Russell Hampton, you can catch us at russellhampton.com. That will take you to give you the option if you want to go to the Rotary side, if you're Rotarian, give you a chance to go to our corporate side if you want to see what that's all about. It also will give you an option to subscribe to some of our social media, email blasts, stuff like that. And then obviously you can go direct to allstaryeswecan.com on the All-Star side. And then going back to that accessibility, Joe, Joe, at ruh.com or Joe at All-Star Yes We Can. You can reach me directly anytime. I always say my job is to be a mile wide and an inch deep. I'm great. I can show you the possibilities, and then I can connect you with the right people that can get you going. So, and then, like I said, anybody that's listening, hit me up. We love to give tours. If you love dogs, we have dogs at our shop, so that's cool.
I love it.
Yes, sir.
That's
so thank
awesome.
you. Yeah.
That's awesome. And maybe we got an order coming in, so I'm gonna let Joe get out of here. But you can also check him out on the Facebook page, and then connect with Joe on LinkedIn as well. You'll see some cool stuff that he's got going on there as well. Joe, thanks so much for coming on the show again, man. You've been awesome.
Gino, thank you.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.